Hi, I'm Mrs. Myers, and I'm here to talk to you today a little bit about your ACT score and what those scores mean and what they are, what the purpose is of the ACT. So by the time we get done with today's video, I want you to know your own ACT score, range kind of where you are right now. I want you to understand what a good ACT score looks like, and when we talk about what good means, what that actually is. And then I want you to know what that ACT score is going to be used for as you move through the next year or so of your experiences. So before we can get started talking about ACT scores, we really have to take a look at where you're at, where you're starting. Now, if you've finished the English, math, science, and reading short test on online prep, you're going to be able to get a good score range. So I'm going to have you pause the video here and log into your online prep. And when you get to the online prep, you're going to go to the My Stats tab on the menu. So go ahead and pause the video and restart it again once you've opened up your online prep and you've clicked on My Stats. All right, welcome back. So you should be at My Stats and you should have a page that looks pretty similar to what you're seeing on your screen. What you're going to notice is that in the middle of the screen, you're going to see a score range for each of the 4 content areas that are tested on the ACT, your English, math, reading, and science. And again, it's going to give you a range as opposed to just a single number score because you didn't take a full-length test. So it's just taking based off what you have done so far and giving an idea of where you would probably fall. Now, some students will kind of wonder, how do they come up with your actual ACT score, or what we're going to call your composite ACT score? Whatever number you get for English, math, reading, and science, they just add those together and average it out by 4. So divide by 4. So if you had a 22, a 25, a 23, and a 26, they would add those 4 numbers together, divide by 4, and then you would have your overall or composite ACT score. And then a lot of students will ask me, well, is that good, whatever that score is going to come out to? They want to know, is that a good score? And good scores are really subjective because we don't know exactly what you're trying to get out of your ACT score. And there's lots of different things that you might be looking at. And so rather than saying an ACT score is good or not good, we should take a look at what the ACT score is used for, and that's to compare you to other students. You're going to be compared to get into college, for scholarships, for placements, lots of different things that this score is used for in regards to college. But the big thing is that it's comparing you. And so to determine whether or not your score is a good score, you kind of have to know how you compare to other students. And so if we take a look at the data that's in front of you, you can see that nationally, every student who is taking the ACT right now, the score is right about 21 is the national average. And so that's a great target for students to start out with, is I want to be right at that national average. What that means is that half the students who are taking the test are scoring lower than you, and half of the students who are taking the test are scoring higher than you if you're at a 21. But I also like to take a look at the state and the school average, because if you're applying to University of Nebraska at Lincoln, University of Nebraska at Omaha, Kearney, any of those schools that are in the state of Nebraska, it's very likely that you're going to be competing for admissions with other students from the state of Nebraska. And so we can take a look and see, how are other students doing in the state of Nebraska, and what are my chances, or how will I compare to students who are applying at the same schools that I'm applying to? And then again, it's really nice to see how we're comparing to other students within our school. And so you can see our school's averages, and you can see that we're a little bit lower than both the state and the national average here in South Sioux. And so hopefully we can see some growth in those areas soon. So the first question that I wanted to answer for you today is, what is a good score? And a good score is really relative based off what you're looking for, but 21 is an average score. And so that's a great place to start when we're talking about goal setting for your ACT. Now, we want to talk a little bit about what else what are we going to use the numbers for? What are colleges going to use these numbers for, so that you have a better understanding of how those numbers are used and require, or in relationship to your future goals. The first thing that colleges are using your ACT score for is to determine whether or not you are admitted to a college. Most colleges have a minimum ACT score that they use to determine eligibility for admissions to college. So for example, the University of Nebraska in Lincoln requires that students have a 21 just to get into that college. Briar Cliff requires that students have a 19 just to get into that college. Now, that doesn't mean that if you don't have those scores, you can't get into college, but it's good to know that most students are probably going to be right in that score range when they apply to that college or when they are accepted into the college. Now, when we talk about you maybe don't need to get that score to be admitted into college, what I'm talking about is that colleges look beyond the ACT score for admissions. They're going to look at your transcript, your GPA, your class rank. All of those pieces go together to determine whether or not you can get into a college. But the ACT is used to determine whether or not you're going to be able to be successful in college classes. And so if you take a look right below the range scores, you're going to see a number that next to the word benchmark. And these are college and career readiness benchmarks. And what that means is that the ACT has determined that if you get this number score in each of those individual sections, you are likely going to be successful in a correlating class at the college level. So here's another way to look at it. If you are able to get an 18 on the English section of the ACT has determined that students have a 50% chance of getting at least a B in their freshman English composition class in college. If you can get a 22 in the math section of the ACT has indicated that you're likely to get a B or a 75 chance, you can't see that, of getting a C or higher in your college algebra class. So these numbers determine whether or not you are ready for the rigor and the course load of the coursework freshmen often experience when they go to college. Now, if you are not meeting the college and career readiness benchmarks, some colleges will let you be admitted to the college, but they may require that you take remedial coursework, or what we sometimes call high school do-over classes. And so let's say my math score was 15, and that's pretty far below the college and career readiness benchmark. The college might say, hey, you can come, but when we're looking at your math score, we don't think you're ready to take college level math yet. And so we have some remedial classes or high school do-over classes that you can take and pay for in order to prepare yourself to take the college level math that you need toward your degree. What this means for students is extra classes and extra cost. And so we don't like either one of those things. It's going to take you longer to get through college. It's going to cost you more to get through college if you have to take those high school redo classes. And so really when I'm talking to students about setting goals for the ACT, we want to make sure that you hit every single one of those college and career readiness benchmarks so that colleges will not require you to take high school do-over classes. In addition to class placement and admissions, colleges are going to use your ACT score to determine financial aid. Scholarships that are tied to your ACT score are called merit-based scholarships. And typically what happens is the higher your ACT score, the more scholarships that you're eligible to apply for, and the amount of those scholarships gets higher. So for example, if you have a 32 on your ACT, at UNL, you can apply for the Regent Scholarship. It doesn't guarantee that you get it, but just to have the right to apply to that scholarship, you have to have a 32 on your ACT. And you can see that's a full tuition scholarship, so that's a pretty big deal. If you get a 30 on your ACT, you can apply for the Distinguished Scholar Scholarship, and 27 for the Husker Scholarship. And you can see that the amount of the award is decreased just a little bit based off of those scholarship numbers. I also included Morningside University, formerly Morningside College's scholarship numbers. And you can see that the highest scholarship for Morningside is 31. And so I don't want you to get really worried that, oh my gosh, I have to have a 30 to get some financial aid or merit-based scholarship, because that's not the case. Every school is different, and you should be talking to your college admissions counselors about what type of merit-based scholarships are available at the school that you're interested in attending, so that you understand where your ACT score needs to be in order to be eligible to apply for those scholarships. So the goal for this video today was to show you where your ACT score range is now so that you can understand what you need to study and what you need to prepare for in order to meet the comparative data, in order to meet the goals, I guess, of the that you have for your ACT. So you're going to know that the national average is 21. That's a great goal for all students to have, that 21, but you want to be aware of those college and career readiness benchmarks as well, because we want to avoid high school redo classes. And then be aware, talk to your admissions counselors at your colleges that you're looking at so that you know what are the scores for scholarships and admissions at that school as well.